All right, folks, we've got a product called Karastan, and if you go online and look for installation videos, you're probably going to find some generic ones. We've made some generic ones, and it's an angle-to-angle style installation, which you might run into on these videos. But the fact is, this one has got a few special instructions, and they're a little bit opaque. So Ricky and another guy working here have kind of figured out what we need to do, and we're going to show you so that it maybe makes some sense, and you don't have any issues installing. Our fake room here, we've got this basically is like our wall. I'm inside the wall. My foot would not exist in the room because we don't actually have a room where we can do this properly. So that's our fake floor with one wall and another wall, and Ricky's going to start at that corner.
We need to open up at least 3 boxes of flooring, and we're going to use a plank out of each one. And you're going to start in the left-hand corner of the room. And the first thing you're going to do is get your first piece, and you're going to take your utility knife and you're going to cut the tongue off of your first piece, all the way through. We're flattening the front is so that when you put your shims in, you have a flat surface and you don't have that tongue sticking out in the way.
So folks, I've got a fake wall here, and I showed you an example of one of our walls where the wall is just naturally raised, and you can see how this wall isn't totally touching the ground. See how that's flat? So now if Ricky puts a spacer in between that and the wall, the flatness of the floor itself is going to help hold that guy in place, because as you see, it's not quite tall enough, right? But if he doesn't have it flat, if the tongue is still on and he puts that spacer there, that tongue could actually push the spacer forward like that, because it's sort of sliding it, it's trying to slide it underneath the wall. And that's where we're cutting this tongue off, is so that the spacer will be held in place by the flatness of the floor against any rise in the wall from the floor.
So you got your first piece up against there. Now the second piece, we're going to start with a short piece, and I'm just going to cut mine with a utility knife and snap it. You can use a saw or however you want, but for this demonstration, we're just going to snap it, score it and snap it. And then you're going to start your next piece right like this right here. You're going to line it up and you're going to drop it.
You got about a 30-degree angle before it clicked in, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And you can hear it kind of click. And then your third piece, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to cut the tongue off of it completely.
See the tongue, you can see how it...
The little tongue right there.
It juts out.
Yeah, you're just going to cut that off to go against the wall. Line this up and drop it. And you're going to work 2 runs at a time.
2 rows at a time.
2 rows at a time.
Now this is the weird part of this installation, folks, is you would normally not do 2 rows at a time. If you look at an installation video, you're not going to see that happening. As with those, Ricky's done the short side first, and now he's clicking in the long side. Of course, he doesn't have a real wall to stop his floor from sliding.
Makes it a little tougher. And they do recommend that you can hit it with the palm of your hand, or you can take a tapping block and barely tap it if it needs be. The biggest thing you got to remember, you can take the tapping block and you can tap this way, you can tap this way, but never take a mallet and smack the top of the joints.
Okay.
If you do, you will break the tongue off, which will keep you from getting locked in.
So that tongue can take force going in this direction,
And
locking
this
them
direction.
together, and in this direction, lateral. But if you come down on the top of it,
If you smack it like this with a mallet, very hard, you will break it, because this does have a pad on the back of it.
Okay, so it's elevated a bit.
Yep.
Okay.
But you want to work both runs all the way through.
Plank 1 in row 1 and plank 1 in row 2 is a partial.
Yep.
Plank 2 in row 1 and plank 2 is a full. Plank 3 in row 1 now goes in, and it's going to exceed our fake room, but that's all right. And now plank 3 in row 2. And one of the reasons we're doing this is because of this stagger. You see how we've got an end joint there and we've got an end joint here, and we don't want those to be too close together. You want at least 8 inches. So starting off with this short piece basically ensures that, going all the way down the line. There's another 8 inches there. Ricky's found something in the locking mechanism. He's clearing it out.
The reason for this, the reason they tell you to do 2 full runs,
For the first 2 rows.
for the first 2 rows is so that you can go back and measure and make sure that the floor is exactly square with the room.
Once you've started your first 2 rows,
And you finish your first 2 rows,
you get those exactly square, you're kind of set up.
you're set up to go. That way you can drop your shims in exactly where you need them and how thick you need them. Because if the room's a little out of square, you might have put 1 shim here but 2 down here.
Oh, I see. Okay,
to
so you
make
might
it
even
square.
wait to put the shims in
Until
until
after
you've
you
got
get the
these
first 2
first
runs.
set up. That's interesting. So the two main extra things are
Do the 2 full runs.
doing the 2 full runs and cutting off the tongue, which isn't super abnormal, but it's just kind of really necessary here.
It's necessary on this tile.
Okay.
And then once you get your 2 full runs done, you get your floor squared into the room, then you can do 1 run at a time.
And then you will be sitting on top of this pulling toward you, which is a much easier way to get those planks in,
Yeah,
isn't it?
this way is much easier to install if you're pulling it to you.
Yeah.
And another thing they tell you is to do not do the brick design. They want you to make sure that these joints are always 8 inches apart no matter what.
So you don't do it like half and half.
Yeah.
All the way down.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's
No half and half.
No half and half. So
No half and half.
8 inches or a third of the plank, basically.
Some people, what they do is, because it's 36 inches,
Okay.
so they'll do a 9-inch piece,
Right.
they'll do 18-inch piece, then a 36-inch. That keeps everything, then they start back with a full one, and then they go at 9.
And if you cut this 9 off,
That should
you've
leave
got
you
a
an
24-inch piece left over that you can use 2 rows later.
No, wait, you
Or at
can
the
only
other
use it on
end.
the other end,
Or at the other end, right.
as a finished product.
Yeah, depending on how your room works.
Yep.